Good evening. Monday is upon us, and welcome to Think About It Using Common Sense. There is so much in the news this evening. The um, the Oscars seem to have taken over everything. So tonight, I'm centering my show around the Oscars. I find that it's being talked about, and I think it needs to be talked about using common sense. First of all, I didn't watch it because normally I never watch the Oscars. Not that um, it isn't worth watching, but I find that it's not up to my taste, so I just stay away from it. But being that the Oscars is a night that's dedicated, created by the uh, actors and actresses, producers, it's their night. It's their one night out of the year. And last night, uh, the host was Chris Rock. He is a excuse me. He is a comedian, not one of my best. He's not a favorite comedian of mine, simply because he's vulgar. But that's Chris Rock, and he's entitled to that. So if I don't particularly care for him, then I don't watch his shows. But that's the type of comedian that he is. And from what I understand, upon hosting the Oscars last night, he made a remark um, about Will Smith's wife being looking like G.I. Jane or G.I. Joe. But anyway, what happened apparently said something that her husband, Will Smith, didn't agree with. But thinking about it, being that the audience took it as a joke or they thought it wasn't serious, so apparently they knew Chris Rock for what he is, the type of comedy he does. He insults people, he insults groups of people. Today I went back and looked at some of Chris Rock's previous shows, stand up comics, and based on some of the things that he said about certain people, is the one he's alive today. But that's neither here nor there. But anyway, getting back to the Oscars, when he made this remark about Will Smith's wife, and from what I saw in the audience, now I don't know, Will Smith was even laughing to a point, and it seemed that his wife was offended by what uh, Chris Rock said. And Will gets up, walks over to walks over to Chris Rock, and Chris had no idea that the man was going to punch him or slap him or whatever he did. And Will Smith really slapped Chris Rock and then turned and walked back to his seat and yelled out some profanity to Chris Rock a couple of times. But when I look at it and everything that happens beyond that point, the people seem to be in the audience, seem to have so much sympathy for Will Smith when Chris Rock was the one that Will Smith slapped or hit upside the head. And not only that, um, Chris Rock was totally caught off guard. And I think Chris Rock did a hell of a job as far as maintaining his composure and getting on with the show as if people really didn't know, based on how Chris Rock handled himself. The audience didn't know if it was real or not. So I personally think Chris Rock needs to be, or should have been, commended just for him, the way he took that and the way he carried on with the show, uh, in regards to being punched by Will Smith. But it seems that Will Smith was the one that got all the sympathy. And for real, Chris Rock saved the uh, Oscars, because if that had been the wrong person, that thing could have been violent up there. But that goes back to something I've said, and I've said it quite a few times. Just because you have money, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're some super individual. You're human. You're just like everybody else. The only difference is you have money. And money have a tendency to make you more of who you really are. Now, did Will Smith conduct himself in a proper manner? I don't think so. I mean, if he had a problem with what Chris Rock, the joke that Chris Rock made about his wife. Now, keep in mind, Chris Rock is a comedian. That's what he does. That's how he makes his living. You can say, "Yo, man, I don't appreciate that," or "Would you apologize to her," or say something, or you know what I mean. You don't have to walk up and just slap a man like that. And not only that, what you did was you took away from the Oscars itself. And if it wasn't for the way that Chris Rock handled himself, the whole thing could have collapsed. And on the another side, what if that had been some person that didn't have the money that Will Smith had, and go up stage, and somebody from the audience just get up and walk up and punch Chris Rock like that? He would have left the stage in handcuffs. And security may have abused him, beat him up or something. He definitely would not have walked back to his seat and yelled a couple times profanity to Chris Rock. And the support that Will Smith got from the audience was a bit surprising to me. And they knew the type of comedian Chris Rock was before they invited him to host the Oscars. When Will Smith made an apology, I think I heard him make an apology to everybody but Chris Rock. And I feel as though Chris Rock was to be commended, not for what he said, but for how he handled himself. And Will Smith definitely, he handled himself not like a individual who he proclaimed himself to be, or who he project himself to be. I didn't even see the Oscars, but when I woke up this morning to take my granddaughter to school, the first thing she said, "Pop, did you see what Will Smith did?" Then when I picked her up from school, she said, "Pop, the teachers, we was talking about the Oscars and what happened, what Will Smith did." You see, people were watching this. This went This went viral, the Oscars around the world. This has an effect on every black individual, especially here in America. We uh, claim that we don't get certain rights. We're not allowed in this. We're not allowed in that. But then when you get there, and this is what happens. So that people say, oh, see, that's why. That was totally, totally uncalled for, totally out of place. And then people that should have been in the limelight wasn't because of this type of negativity that was carried on. It was shameful. It was shameful. And again, I think Chris Rock conducted himself uh, as an intelligent man. And then he was so kind as to say he would just forget it, would not file any charges against him when the whole world saw what happened. So it was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. I I was shocked, even though I'm not surprised, but something of that magnitude to take place on that night when something like that is watched around the world. You know, I think he had a breakdown. It appears that he had a breakdown, something, but it was a shame. It was a shame something like that happened, and I don't know. It may take him a while to live something like that down. But again, thank you, Chris Rock, for handling that way, because I'm sure had it been someone else, you may not have walked up to him and slapped him and walked away like that. You know, and it's just terrible that it seems like when stuff like that happens, it always has to be someone of color at the forefront. Even though you can be you're a millionaire, it doesn't matter. Money doesn't change who you are. So um, again, it was a terrible thing. It's done, but he's very fortunate that it came out like it did, because it could have been a lot worse. And again, people need to. We just can't things like this. We just have to try and work things out, and just keep stuff like this from happening, if at all possible. When you're in a snake pit, you can't complain if you get bit. So when you're in a place like this and you got a comedian like Chris Rock, he says anything. It's not personal. That's what he does. That's how he make his money. Now, and I'm sure he didn't just say that to disrespect uh, Will Smith's wife. Yeah, I mean, had he known that, I'm sure he wouldn't have did that. And even so, there was no way for I think for Will Smith to handle that. That was just totally embarrassing, out of place, and something. I hope he may not even be able to recover from this for a long, long time. So, but it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. Uh, what else? We talking about also in the news tonight, or every day, is the war in Ukraine. Putin, the number of people that's being killed on both sides. Um, it's terrible. It's something that Um, I need to really take a course in political science so I can really understand the workings of all this. But just common sense tells me something of this as far as it seems to be about um, the border, Ukraine bordering Russia, joining the United Nations. Um, this is something seems to have or should have been worked out. It should have been some compromises given, um, which I think even now to solve this, some compromises is going to have to be worked out. And my point is, it's been a lot of senseless killing and destruction, and it's going to continue. I don't think sanctions is going to do it. If they do, that would be fine. Anything to stop this, but the suffering and the killing and the destruction, you know, when it's all said and done, it's going to be done in vain because you're going to have to come to an agreement and sit down and work this thing out. So what I'm saying is the sooner, the better. It's bottom line. Because Putin is not going to give, and Ukraine is not going to give. So something's going to have to be worked out where both can come to some kind of agreement and be satisfied and move on and start rebuilding. Okay. Um, what else is in the news today? Let me see. Uh, bear with me here 1 minute. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was saying something about drunk driving, and I also see that we are getting ready to. A lot of states we already have legalized uh, marijuana. So I was thinking with the modern technology that we have today, why can't there uh, why can't sensors be put in automobiles that with a certain alcohol level the car would not start, can detect a certain amount of uh, smoke from marijuana or any drugs, like you have a drug test or a swipe or something, and an automobile will not start because I'm seeing, this is something we need to think about and use common sense about, because with these electric automobiles and just automobiles, period, you cannot be driving these cars under the influence of anything. It's too deadly. It's these cars, especially electric cars with the lithium sulfate or however, whatever type of lithium it is, and the way these batteries, when they catch fire, they burn, and you can't put them out right away. So you need to have all your faculties when you're operating these type of vehicles, and any vehicle, period. They are deadly. Just last week we had this horrific accident of this young girl driving under the influence of alcohol, uh, killed two state troopers and a bystander, three 3 people, and she actually, and also, even though she survived, but she killed her own life because her life is over. It's over. And something needs to be done, and I'm sure with all the technology that we have, uh, something can be done to put sensors in these automobiles where they will not start if the driver is under any type of influence, alcohol or drugs. And this is what needs to be done, especially with the type of automobiles and all the different types of technology that's going overhead as well as on the ground. We need to be alert. So that's something else I think we need to think about. Um, Inflation, man, this is off the chart. But at the same time, I think inflation sometimes is all how you look at a thing. This so-called inflation can be the best thing that ever happened to you. See, you know what? I have a saying for bad. Excuse me. I have a saying for bad. Bad isn't bad if the end results is good. Sometimes things need to happen in order for you to change a little bit or to tighten your belt a little bit or slow down a little bit and pay attention. So when we're having a problem with obesity, we're having a problem with diabetes and kidney problems, skin problems, all these different types of ailments. Well, we need to try and take some time out for ourselves and sit down and address these things. If you have all these things or certain ailments, the sensible thing to do is one, think about them, and second is use some common sense. If you have if the doctor tell you, oh, you're diabetic, okay? So then you got to say, well, what am I doing to become a diabetic? So now you got to find out you haven't your body maybe your insulin is low or eating too much sugar or whatever, you're not exercising properly, then you have to do these things. You need to eat uh, you need to eat vegetables, fruits, stay away from a lot of starchy foods, carbohydrates and stuff like that. You need exercise. So now if there's a major inflation, so then that means that things cost more. You've been having enough money to be buy as much stuff as you've been buying. So maybe you don't need it. Maybe that maybe you buy less, and that could help you out. Could help you lose weight. Cut back on what you eat, how much you're eating. You really don't need a lot of food to live. You know that. We eat out of habit and out of taste, out of control. You see, when you really think about it, uh, life is a bunch of habits that you just have taken over your life. All you do is have it. Oh, I want this, I want that. And a lot of things you just eat because it's a subliminal being put into your mind, and that's where advertisement comes in. See, they want to sell you stuff. They want to sell you the food, but even though you don't need it, they don't care. All they want money, but you have to control yourself. Take control of of your body and your mind and what you put into it, and not just be a victim. You know, I was thinking today practically all day based on this the Oscars last night, and I had a lot that I want to talk about pertaining to it, but I think I kind of covered it as much as I want to say in the beginning. And what I'm going to do is tonight I have something else, another appointment that I had made, and I do have to get that done. But what I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm going to have a show and talk about some things, other things I really want to talk about. But today I just wanted to get uh, some words in on this Oscar last night and how much I thought that it was terrible. It was terrible, um, and the response from it that I saw in the audience was also terrible. You know, and everybody was praising Will Smith, and I didn't hear anything for Chris Rock. And even though uh, he was the one that was punched, to me, he was the one also that saved the Oscars last night because he held his composure to to continue on and finish it. So I want to give a shout out to Chris Rock, and but again, it was horrible. It was horrible, and I have to cut this short. I hate to, but I have no choice. But anyway, tomorrow uh, I will have be on at 6 the same time. And thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good night. Thank you so much. Bye.